Well, hello, friends, and welcome to Boston.com's Cocktail Club. I'm Jackson Cannon, and soon I'll be joined by Marcia Lindsay, principal bartender at SRV in Boston's South End. Tonight, we're making cocktails with bourbon, catching up on the bar and restaurant scene, and of course, sharing some tips that pros use to make great drinks at home. I'm going to go through everything we need for tonight. All the while, we're taking your questions from the chat. A couple of questions out front from the registration page. Nathan asks, would love for us to cover some lower carb alternatives to the simple syrup. Well, if you're getting set up, there's two ways to tackle this, Nathan. One is when we call for a half ounce, just back off of the simple syrup if you're trying to cut the carbs a little bit. About a quarter ounce will give the drink the texture that it needs. And that's true in a lot of kind of recipes that are built around the old fashioned. You can also try agave nectar, which because it presents as sweeter, you can use a lot less of that, and that also has a few less calories. All kinds of other alternatives out there. Just use your favorite sweetener and build a simple syrup the same way that we do, which is 1-to-1 sugar and water. Carl wants to know, will this be available as a recording when we can't make the live broadcast? Yes, Carl, all of these go up on our Boston.com social media pages, Facebook page, YouTube channel the very next day. And then Bob Petrie just says, Marcia is the best. And that couldn't be further from the truth. And we're going to get to meet her in a moment. First, from our shopping list, to make the Manhattan, you're going to need some bourbon. Brown-Forman sponsoring us tonight, so we've got the good stuff. We've got great Woodford Reserve to use for our Manhattan with your favorite sweet vermouth. You'll need a dash of Angostura bitters, and of course, this is traditionally garnished with 1 or 2 cherries. And for the old-fashioned, we're going to use the Old Forester. This is a great bourbon with a little bit of simple syrup, also the Angostura bitters, and then whatever your favorite lemon or orange peel garnish for that is. For glassware, I'm going to do the Manhattan in a kind of classic cocktail coupe. We're going to do the old-fashioned down on the rocks. You'll need something to stir in. We are partial to these cute little mixing glasses that adorn your fancier and other reputable bars around the country. Of course, if you have a shaker set, you can use that. A mason jar works. The little pitcher that you might have for steaming some milk for your latte, that works great too. You'll need something to stir it with. I like a long metal spoon, but chopsticks will do in a pinch. You need something to measure with. We use these jiggering tools at the bar because they present a lot of compound measurements that we can use really quickly to build multiple drinks at a time. We're going to be doing these one at a time here. So if you just have a tablespoon, that'll work. Remember, a tablespoon's half an ounce. So when we say 2 ounces of something, that's 4 tablespoons. And it's a very accurate measure. We just don't use it in the bar because it's just a little bit slower, but it'll be great for making drinks at home. Regular ice, I'm going to use little 1x1 cubes that I got out of this tray. See, not much else I need. I got my cutting board, my knife, my tweezers, just my simple setup, right? So that's pretty much all that we're going to need to get rolling. All right. Marcia Lindsay was born and raised in Eagleston Square in inner city Boston. 15 years as a bartender, it all started for her in 2007. When she worked late nights cocktail waitressing and bartending at a less than savory establishment in Oxford, Mass. Gaining experience allowed her a way back to Boston, where she moved into nightclubs and the city scene. Stints in New York, Miami, and Vegas would follow, and when the time was right, she returned again to her hometown, not only working in fine dining, but also attending college for entrepreneurial science. The North End was her next stop, where she was the first Black female bartender ever in that particular neighborhood. She currently can be found at SRV in the historic South End, where she has been for almost 5 years. And she notes it is the healthiest and most satisfying work environment she's ever been a part of. Her Venmo is on screen and in the chat, so hit the tip cup. She is a great bartender. She loves bourbon. Welcome, Marcia.
Hi, how are ya?
I'm so happy to see you. It's good to be having a drink together.
Yeah, I can't wait to cheers.
So
nice
you are locked away in the wine room of SRV, a busy, bustling restaurant. I know that you're going to be right back up to service when we're done. What else is happening with the restaurant these days? Tell people more about it.
Yeah, so SRV is a Venetian-inspired restaurant in the historic South End in Boston. We really focus on Venetian-inspired dishes. It is somewhat seasonal, and we are really, really known for our Arsenale menu, which is our chef selection menu. The chef does curate once a month, every first of the month, so it'll be different every time you get it. Super, super delicious, and we're also super famous for our Negronis. which is probably one of our most popular cocktails. It has a little bit of Buto Americano to keep that bitterness while it gets diluted. It's a really great spot. It's fancy but chill, and the playlist is always great.
Oh, man, that's great to hear. I can't wait to come visit you there. Hey, should we spin a cocktail so while we're catching up, we've got a little something to drink?
Yeah, let's do it. I love that.
All right. Let me take us through a Manhattan the way my mom taught me to drink them, if not make them. We are going to start with 2 ounces of the Woodford Reserve. And we had a question come in from the chat really quickly about somebody who loves Maker's Mark saying, what other bourbons might they like? And that's a wheated bourbon. So in addition to maybe like a Antique 107 by Weller or something like that, this Woodford Reserve should be right up your alley if you like drinks with that bourbon. So 2 full ounces in the mixing glass. And then an ounce of your favorite sweet vermouth, or just your what you currently want to check out. I've got the Cinzano in here. What are you using there? That's the fancy bottle.
I'm using a little classic Carpano Antica because we are an Italian restaurant. You know, we like to keep it in the family. Carpano is really, really classic. It's got some beautiful sweet notes. Can't go wrong.
Yeah, that's a darling of the craft cocktailians for a good reason, right? Angostura bitters, kind of nothing else will do. If you only have one, this is the one you should stock. And a little bit to taste. I think 2 healthy dashes. If you just open the bottle, you might need a third one, right, to get it out of there. But if it's opened up and pouring well, just 2 really good dashes. I say 2, and it's like I always do 3 when I say 2. I can't seem to stop myself. I should just start saying 3, right? But then I'll be doing 4, and what'll happen next? All right. I didn't think to do it beforehand, but I am going to put a tiny chill in my glass by throwing a couple cubes in there. Of course, in the bar, we keep them in the freezer sometimes, and we can do that at home. I'm also just going to chill my old-fashioned glass just for giggles while I'm doing that.
Got mine right here, a little low bottle.
And then I'm going to put my ice into my mixing glass. And this is the fun part about using glass. You can kind of see that both I'm going to put my spoon in that way. Marsha's hiding it from you there in that metal, but it's going to get good and cold and
Nice and
well in
cold.
that. But you can see kind of, the ice isn't banging around, right? So, you know, as on feel, Marsha, I bet you're going to feel that ice relax. Visually, we're probably going to see it happen right here. People are always asking how many times, and it's just till it's done, right?
It's done. I think 20 was like a healthy amount back in the day, but we're gonna feel it. You know, we wanna get in tune with that liquor, and we're gonna feel till it's ready.
I always feel like that question is begging for some kind of koan, and I'm like, you need to stir it until you've forgotten how many times you've stirred.
I like that. Consider that stolen.
Awesome. All right, now you can see the volume of the drink. The ingredients have come together. They're rising up. You know, most of the dilution happens right away, so you're not at risk if you stir a little long. You're more danger of understirring. And then I'm going to get this ice out of my coupe glass. I'm going to put my cherry in first. Even schools of thought on this. I like to pour the drink kind of over it. Watch it tumble around a little bit.
Got my Luxardo cherry, fancy.
Awesome. And then if you've done this right, when it pours out, you can see the liquid is kind of thick. It's not rushing out. It just sort of twirls. And sometimes we call that pouring a ribbon. And when you see it just twirling down into the glass, you can almost feel the velvety texture of this drink. We know we've done it right.
There it is.
Well, I know you have to sip and spit a little bit in the cup, but our friends at home can take a big taste with us. Cheers.
There it is. Cheers. Salute. That Woodford, let me tell you. All those caramel notes, a little cocoa, a little vanilla.
Oh, you're so right. It's like almost like that cocoa nib, right?
Yeah, right?
Beautiful.
Those charred barrels they use are quite magnificent. And the aroma too, it's just like, it's dark and brooding. You love that. I tell you what, I'll eat the cherry though.
Well, I put a little post up today about it. It was like, that's my first taste of a Manhattan was my mother giving me her garnish cherry when I was little.
Wow.
And I still remember all the flavors that we're getting out of this glass from sense memory from when I was a kid. She got so frustrated when I was a young teen that she started having to order her drink with 2 cherries because she also wanted to enjoy the garnish in the drink.
Wow. I love that. What a great start to the world of spirits and libations as a Manhattan.
Hey, how long would you say you feel? I mean, in the restaurant, you go through the vermouth so fast. People on the chat are asking us, how long do we think you can keep vermouth in the fridge?
So vermouth is wine based, so you definitely want to keep that in the fridge. I would say no longer than a month or two, depending on what kind of vermouth that you have. If using years in that fridge, it's not going to taste up to par. It's just a month or two, definitely.
Yeah,
Not too
I'm
long.
sort of like, so some people like milk, and I feel like when the milk is like a little bit sour, like I could only drink milk when it was like just open the cap, right? But like
Right.
some people can pound down milk and who love milk and be like, ooh, that milk turned. Like they love it, so they don't mind if it. I am sort of that way with vermouth. Even when the vermouth's gone a little bit bad, I'm still like, it's not perfect. I'll finish that and open a fresh bottle for our guests.
Some booze in there. It's going to kill everything. You'll be fine.
Hey, so we have to just ask one question about funereal sciences. And we
Yes.
got a couple in there, but the most interesting one I thought, and feel free to elaborate any way you want, was like they wanted to know what from that discipline did you feel most applied to the work that you do in hospitality?
I think the discipline that most applied is guest relations. I think that there is a similarity in as to which people are coming to you for a service and you're there and getting paid to provide for said service. And that there should be a delicacy with it. You should definitely understand that people are coming to you for a reason, and there's always a backstory, and to always have that in mind when dealing with guests. That there might be some sadness, some anger, some other underlying emotions. You definitely want to put that into perspective with other people. You never know how someone's feeling that day. You never know what the next man or woman is going through. And it definitely helps to be patient and kind and understanding working in a restaurant. Because sometimes, not everything's going to go your way and people are going to be people. And it's really nice to just take a breath and take a step back and be like, hey, you guys came to see us. So how can I change this for you? How can I help you out?
Words to live by. That's just great to hear. Thanks for that. Do you have any other brands of vermouth that you think people who also love Carpano should get out and try?
Yeah, so Cinzano 1757, the Cinzano Rosso is a fantastic vermouth that's super similar to Carpano Antica. And I've been really getting into this vermouth called Cap Horse Rouge, which is a very beautiful underlying botanical aspect to it that I find really, really nice in cocktails. Those two are definitely on my radar always.
Awesome. Well, hey, September is bourbon month. And as part of Brown-Forman's Whiskey Worth Knowing, we're really happy to share a short video from our sponsor on one more way to use great bourbon. Marsha and I will be right back in 1 minute, friends. Please enjoy.
Add our meringue cookie, as I like to call them, make it a little more obvious. One does the trick, a medium to large size, right on in. Add a little bit of ice. I don't like to add too much ice, as the ice helps whip up the egg, and then shake it really, really hard and really, really long, at least 10 seconds. Get it nice and chilled, frothy, and strain it into a cocktail glass. And top with our Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey cocktail bitters. Do the little heart thingy with the toothpick, make it oh so beautiful. And there you have it, a whiskey sour featuring Gentleman Jack using our meringue sour technique. Please drink responsibly and take care.
Whoa, mind blown. Marcia, have you ever used an egg-based cookie to get egg into a drink before? How could I have not?
Never.
Oh my God.
They're in the year 2056, honestly.
I am so trying that in a little bit. Hey, should we get into the cocktail that you're gonna make and lead us through today in old fashioned?
Awesome. An old fashioned. This is one of the most classic of cocktails, other than a martini. It was invented in New York in sometime in the 19th century. And we're gonna be using Old Forester bourbon, which is a very, very old and distinguished bourbon. It is actually the only bourbon that has made it through before, during, and after the Prohibition, which is something great to know. It is still the same family, fantastic old school. So we're gonna do 2 ounces of that Old Forester. And I'm gonna build mine in my glass. You're more than welcome to build in a mixer right here, but old fashions, I like it to have a relationship with that glass a little early on. So we're gonna pour 2 ounces of that Old Forester bourbon right in that glass here. And Old Forester, as opposed to Woodford, is gonna have a little bit of a sharper initial taste. It's still gonna be smooth. There is more vanilla and citrus as opposed to Woodford, which is a little more cocoa and vanilla. So we got that 2 ounces right in that glass. I love Old Forester. It actually was the first sealed bourbon in the United States.
They helped write the laws, the bonded laws.
They did.
That,
Yeah.
distinguish this category in terms of its quality for over a century.
It's definitely on the higher quality of bourbons. It's fantastic. I really find it very, very delicious, especially in manufacturing. So we got our 2 ounces there. And then we're gonna go ahead and get our simple syrup out. I have mine in a little cheater right here. And then we're gonna do a 1/2 ounce of that simple syrup. Now you can use a lot of different sweeteners. We personally use Demerara in our old fashioned, which is a really nice sugar to use, but simple syrup is really accessible. Everyone's got some sugar in their house, you know? So I'm building that right in the glass. So now we have the 2 ounces of Old Forester and then a 1/2 ounce of the simple. And then we're gonna finish it off with a couple dashes of that Angostura. Since I just opened it, like our dear Jackson said, get 3 healthy shakes in there. Just to get it out of that bottle. Yeah, and Angostura is incomparable. There's no, there's no question of what Angostura you should use. It has to be the OG. So after we got those dashes in there, we're gonna add some ice because according to a lot of bartenders, you never pour alcohol over ice if you're gonna serve it and stir it. So I'm gonna put a little ice in here, my 1x1s.
Just to answer a couple questions from the chat, as we're going, we're using the Old Forester 86 proof.
Yep.
There's several marks by this family, but this is the one we're going to use on this drink.
Yeah, their 100 proof is some serious stuff. It's amazing. So we're gonna go ahead and stir it. And again, we're gonna stir it till it feels right, Just wanna get in tune with that cocktail. Stir it, and you don't have to stir it as much as a Manhattan since it's not being served up. But you definitely wanna get all those ingredients together.
Just clarifying again in the chat, Marcia was mentioning that we don't put the ice in first and pour the ingredients over. Get all of our ingredients together first. There's a few reasons for that. If we get called away for a moment, that stuff can just sit there. If it sits on the ice, it can get ruined. But it also is a way that we can kind of control everything and the melt,
Right.
and etc.
Here it is. And then for a garnish, so at SRV, we do the garnish based on what type. So we do orange twist for bourbon and then lemon twist for rye with the old fashioned.
I'm gonna do one of each.
I have both too. Look at us, twinsies.
Well, because I use other bitters sometimes in some of my old fashions, but I wanted to stick to the traditional here. But I want both those notes that you were just talking about.
Definitely, yeah. I think it will really bring out that vanilla, honestly. So I have a lemon twist, and you want to express that over the drink and then twist it. Maybe even give it a little swirl. And then I have an orange twist right here. Again, we're gonna bend and express over the cocktail to get all of that oil into the drink, twist, and maybe even stir your cocktail a little twist. There we are.
I can really see the oils kind of floating on top.
Yeah, if you ever express a twist into light, you really can see how much oil gets out of that. It's really amazing to watch.
Well,
there
cheers.
we have it. Cheers to our Old Forester Old Fashioned. The caramel notes, that citrus really brings that out. And the sweetness of bourbon is quite delightful.
Mm.
Yeah. Old Forester knows what's up.
You know, I think a lot of times people think about drinks being sweet or having a kick. And the old fashioned is both these things. And especially this one is like, yeah, I get some sweetness, but there's a little heat there. Some white
Yeah,
pepper.
some sharpness, you know, there's a little like, we call it a pissed off ballerina, like it's elegant, but it also can kick you in the face, you know?
I love that. I love that.
Oh, this is great. I'm just gonna, one more little sip.
Yeah, well, I know you have to run back up to a busy service, but.
Sure do. We are a very busy restaurant and I'm going right back to work, right on service bar.
Do you have a position on the bar that you prefer?
For guest facing, I really just love people. I want to find out about you. I want to get to know you. I want you to come back and see me. I want us to have a banter. I want us to laugh together. You know, I really enjoy what people have to offer, good, bad, or indifferent. So I really enjoy guest facing. Service is nice, but during COVID, I've done enough service bars, so I'm ready to get back in there.
Yeah, it was all service bar.
It was all service, and it was real, and it was great. But now I'm ready to get back into business.
But it's funny too, because if you have a trying night and guests, it's still rewarding, right? But you sometimes give into that idea, like, oh man, next, I'd love to work someplace where there's just a dedicated service bar. So sometimes I can work. I think that cured like any of us who thought are now no longer like, please God, put it in the middle of the square, you know, like.
Talk to a human that I like, you know, can I just like speak to somebody? Like it's nice with your staff and your coworkers, but sometimes you just want like a breath of, you know, fresh air.
I once was standing on the side of a pass of one of the bars I was running the program of, and the bartender looked at me and kind of the look on my face and turned to me and said, you want to make it was slow. There was no reason for me to step on it. It's like, you want to make that cocktail for C4? And I go, oh yeah. And I make it and I serve it to him and I chat with him a little bit, I walk off. And she just looks at me and goes, sometimes you got to make a drink for someone just to feel normal, huh?
I've definitely been there. I've definitely done that. Sometimes you gotta make a drink. You know, you just want to get back in the business. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Get in there. Put me in coach. That's my favorite thing to say at SRB. Put me in coach.
I love that. You do got this. Hey, what's your favorite drink on the menu right now?
My favorite drink is gonna have to be the Pesco and the Grizzly Bear. It's a drink that I curated for my dog that passed away in May. And I think Italy is really up there when it comes to like a lot of like dealing with like fruits and things. So I want to put some peaches in there because it's the end of summer and it's done with Woodford Reserve and a little Cap Horse Blanc, which is a fantastic vermouth. And then some black lemon bitters that are house made. And then it just has a large ice beer with a lemon slice in the middle. And it's just a really good, sweet, strong, sharp cocktail that I wanted to immortalize my baby boy. So they say that you don't die until the last person says your name. So I wanted to make sure that he lived forever.
Oh, I love that about it.
Yeah.
I love that. Hey, can people find that recipe on your Instagram by any chance?
You know what I can do? I can put that on tonight.
Awesome.
I can put that recipe on tonight. And then we have another cocktail, which is the 63 Fairbanks, which has been on since fruition, which is some Aperol, elderflower, citrus, and a spray of green chartreuse with, honestly, you can pick your poison. You can do tequila, you can do gin, and it's quite popular. We make many, many, many of those a shift.
Well, if any of you out there that follow me have trouble finding Marsha on Instagram or other platforms, just hit me up with a DM. and I'll put you both in touch.
Yeah. Love to hear from you.
Well, wow, it's been so great to get this time with you.
So much
Really.
fun, Jackson. This has
Really,
been so
really
good.
love that you could do this. But that's all the time we have for Cocktail Club. Follow us at Globe Events on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter for more information about upcoming Boston.com Cocktail Club events. You can find me on those platforms as @CannonJax. Cocktail Club will be back on October 7th, but next week, as part of the exciting Globe Summit, The Great Recovery, there will be a special Cocktail Club toast at the end of each day. Search on Boston.com for Globe Summit, The Great Recovery for registry and registration information for that. Thanks so much. You'll be getting a thank you email, everybody, with the videos from Brown Forman and their Whiskey Worth Knowing. Marsha, thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Jackson. It was amazing.
Right.
And I
Hey,
can't
have a good
at SRV.
Have a good service, and we'll all see you at the bar at SRV.
Cheers.
Cheers.